All right, so now let's talk about some basic file manipulation, okay? So what I mean by that is we are still in the same directory as we were before. We are in the foo directory in my home directory. We can touch, let's say, lesson1.txt. We're just making new files. They're blank, but we're creating brand new files. Touch lesson2.txt and touch lesson3.txt. Hopefully this is obvious what I'm doing. I'm just creating 3 blank files and we can see them right here. That's all well and good. But let's say we want to make a 4th one, right? Touch lesson4.txt. Uh-oh, I made a typo. I meant to say lesson4.txt. I put lesson44. Now, obviously, we could go over here. We could just rename it, and that's all well and good. But can we rename it from the terminal? Absolutely, we can. Very easily. There's no rename command, though. And I'm going to put a bunch of asterisks around this because when you get to the underlying system, it does kind of rename it, blah, 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 blah. Forget all that. We're going to move this file. Now, this might be kind of weird. What do you mean we're going to move the file? We're going to move the file from lesson44.txt. This is the source. And the second argument we're going to give the move command is the new name that we want it, lesson4.txt. We'll hit enter. We'll get immediate feedback over here that the name has changed. And when we ls it, we can see that we have the 4 files that we expect. That's awesome. Here's the scary thing, okay? Legitimately scary, all right? Be careful with this. Imagine we had taken lesson4.txt and we were like, oh, let's call it lesson34.txt, okay? So we type 3, and then we accidentally type this. Now, do you see a possible problem here? What do you think is going to happen? Because we use the move command to rename something. What if we rename lesson 4 to lesson 3? Well, lesson 3 already exists. You ever try to do this in Finder? If I were to go here to lesson 4 and I were to say, let's call this lesson 3, and then it gives you an error message saying that that file already exists, please choose a different name. That's a very nice error message. It stopped me from overwriting a file. Does the terminal do that? Nope. It just overwrote the file. Lesson 3, the original lesson 3, is gone. Okay? I really want this point to sink in. Like, I really want this to sink in. We've learned the rm command, and now we're learning the mv command. These are dangerous. These are dangerous. Or, more specifically, they're powerful. These are incredibly powerful tools. You have to think of it this way. They are powerful tools and there are no guardrails here, okay? You are able to modify your system. You paid for it. It's your system. You can modify it. You can also shoot yourself in the foot. So be very careful with this, all right? Like I said, there's no trash. I can't go and get lesson3.txt, the original one, back. It's gone. Now, if I were in like a Git directory, if I had checked out something on GitHub, yes, I'd be able to restore it, make sure you have backups, all that stuff. But I'm just trying to say, what I'm trying to stress here is be careful. It is surprisingly easy to overwrite files in the terminal, okay? I think the next thing is, let's show how easy it is to delete files in the terminal, okay? If I run the rm command and I don't give it any arguments, don't worry, it gives me a problem. That's an error message. I have to tell it to remove something. But here's the cool thing. Let's say I wanted to get rid of all these lessons, right? We have lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3. I can just say remove lesson star.txt, and they're all gone. All 3 of them, gone. They're just completely gone. This is called a glob. This is a wildcard. I will talk about this more in the future. I'm just letting you know and showing you how powerful this can actually be, okay? It's kind of wild. Here's the fun thing. RM, depending on your version of RM, though I think most versions of RM support this, RM has an optional flag called -i, and I will show you what that does. So let's go ahead and recreate those files. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to spell clear correctly, and we're going to touch lesson1.txt, touch lesson2.txt, and touch lesson3.txt. Now let's go ahead and use RM-i lesson star. I don't have to say .txt, I can just say lesson star and it will match anything that starts with lesson. Let's go ahead and run this. Look at this. -i means interactive. -i will prompt you to confirm that you actually want to do this. So I could say N here for no, I could say Y for yes, and I could say N for no, and we are left with, as you can already see on the Finder, we're left with 1 and 3 because we specified no for both of them, but we did specify yes for 2, so that's why 2 is gone. We could do this again. Actually, I should show you what I just showed you right now. Up and down, pressing up and down your keyboard, super useful. I should have touched on this earlier. When you press up on your keyboard, you go backwards through the history of commands you've ran. When you press down, you go forwards to the history of commands you've ran. So if I want to rerun the last command, I can hit up and I can hit enter. I can hit up, and I can get to the command above it, hit up, I'll get touch lesson 3. If I press up again, we'll get lesson 2. If I hit up again, lesson 1. So up and down is a great way of going through your history. So if we ran this again, we can see that want to remove lesson 1? Sure. Want to remove lesson 3? Sure. We could totally do this. And now let's talk about the last thing here. Wouldn't it be nice if this was the default behavior, right? Well, like maybe while you're learning, you don't want to RM files and have them go away like this. Some people might say it's useful. Some people say it's character building to have these files be deleted like that. Hey, I've done it. I've deleted very important files before. But let's go ahead and say maybe I wanted that to be the default. Maybe I wanted RM to always ask. I can't make it the default of RM. I can't change that program, but I can alias it. Now, I will talk more about this in future chapters, but we can alias RM equals rm minus I. Go ahead and look at the syntax, kind of study what's going on here. When I run this, now when I run the rm command, the -I will be there implicitly. So we run rm lesson star, and look, it prompts me to actually do it because it is using the alias. How do I know that it's aliased? Well, I can run alias rm, and it will let me know if it was aliased or not. If I run alias mv, we can see that there is no alias for MV found. We didn't create one. So I'm throwing a lot at you. Don't worry, all this stuff will be explained in later chapters. We're gonna go deep into every single topic that we've discussed here. All right, before we wrap up here, I wanna show one last command to you that is gonna be super useful. We cleared the screen. Actually, I should teach you that one too. Control L. Depending on the terminal you're on, will let you clear the screen. It's like the equivalent of running the clear command. So I unfortunately in the habit of pressing Control L a lot. It's super useful for teaching, but now that I'm trying to teach the basics of the terminal, I have to like remind myself. So hopefully I'm not jumping over too many of the shortcuts I do. I have future chapters dedicated to these shortcuts, so don't worry, I'll try to go over as much of it as I can. But let's say, we can use up and down to look through our history of commands. We also have the history command. If we run history, it prints a lot of stuff at us. And you can see, I have a lot of history here. We have almost like 5,000 some commands. Here are all the commands in my history. You can scroll through, you can see all of them. This is super convenient. This is super useful. If you log into a machine, you run a bunch of stuff, you disconnect, you log in a week later, your history's there. You can remind yourself what you were working on and what you were doing. History is super useful. And this is just a great tool to have. This is just something to keep in your back pocket, something to have in your toolbox. Super useful, super awesome.